welcome to the fifth or sixth. Welcome to this week's episode of the Woolly Witch of the West. I'm Madeline, the Woolly Witch of the West, and one half of the art duo Fox of Spider Art. I would be the spider half, and I'm also a partner here at the Woolly Mammoth Yarn Shop in Eureka, Montana. So this is a general fiber arts podcast where I talk a little bit about spinning, knitting, occasionally some weaving, and every now and then some dyeing, usually plant-based dyeing, just to spice things up a little bit. So I'm kind of doing this as a video cast style documentation of what I'm working on. So if you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back and checking in with me and seeing what I've been up to. If you're a new viewer, thanks for stopping by. And hopefully you find something fun here. I'm kind of I'll say I'm an intermediate knitter and a novice spinner. I haven't been spinning a year. And I kind of am sharing what I'm learning kind of as I go. So that's kind of the purpose of this little video cast. As you can see, it is a lovely day here. It's blustery and windy and cold outside actually, but we are getting some lovely sunshine. So I thought I would go ahead and film here at the shop today since things have slowed down towards the end of the day. So what I'm going to do is I will start with finished projects. I have some finished knitting and a tiny little skein of finished spinning. And then I'll go on to works in progress and talk to you about other things that I've been up to, as well as I'm really excited to share something that I'm going to start spinning soon, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that as well. So I will go ahead and get started with that. So I'm going to reach because I have everything on a chair next to me. We've rearranged the shop again, so it's springtime, you have to change things, right? So my one and only finished piece of knitting for you guys this week is my socks from last month. I'm trying to knit a pair of socks a month, and so far I've been doing all right, keeping up with that for the most part. So last month I did the Speckled space socks. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I'm sorry I did not think to write things down before I started filming. So I will make sure that I list the pattern author in the show notes below. But the Speckled space socks, they're free on Ravelry. They're still, I don't really block socks. I just kind of let them get worn. But you can see this really great arrow V pattern with slit stitches in there to give it some texture, and I just love the name of the pattern, and I love this yarn, which we do carry here in the shop, which I also didn't think to look up what it is. Here, hold on. So that's this yarn. We have it in the shop. The sock yarn is just right over there. My table is wobbly. I have to remember not to lean on it. So let's see here. It is Maxima Trekking, Ideen and Handstrick. Trekking sock yarn, Maxima is what it is. So it's a German yarn. 75% new wool, 25% nylon. It's a German yarn. So it's not a super soft wool either. It's just a bit scratchy, but I don't really mind that, and I really liked the colors. So this is the same kind of yarn, only in rainbow. A full spectrum on that, because there's some green in there, and this version just had the pinks and purples and yellow. And it really did remind me of space, and I made these for my spouse creature, who's a big nerd and likes Star Trek, and they kind of reminded me of Star Trek, so I kind of think of them as their Star Trek socks. Also, look how big I have such teeny tiny feet. I love making socks for myself, and I don't really like making socks for very many other people because that's big. That's big. These took me much longer to make than if I had been making them for myself. But now I want to make another pair because look, it's rainbow. Same style of yarn. I think it's a 3-ply and one of the ply gradients. So now I feel like I have to make them another pair, only all the way rainbow. Shoot. So there's that. That's my only finished knitting for this week. I did go and spend last week visiting my mom, and I was able to work from her place, which is very nice with my second job that it allows me to do that. But I did not get as much knitting done as I thought I did because I was too busy hanging out with my mom. So what can you do? Priorities, right? And for works in progress for this month's knitting, does this video cast have a format that I stick to every week? Clearly not, because I'm just doing all the knitting first and then the spinning second. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going with the flow. Folks told me they liked it better if I don't use show notes and then I just do it off the cuff, so off the cuff it is. So this is the first of my May socks. Just plain and simple toe up. I haven't done toe ups on double points before, and I definitely like it better on magic loop. So for future reference. Though I have to say, I love doing heels and gussets on toe up socks. Oops, it's kind of shadowed, but look how clean and easy that is. No join hole at the top of the gusset. It's fantastic. This is a wrapped stitch short row heel. And this is the Feel Good sock pattern. It's also for free on Ravelry. I also did not think to look more closely at the name of the pattern designer on that, so once again I apologize. I will make sure I write that down there to give proper credit to our pattern writers. And these socks are kind of special. I'm making these for my mom, and so I got fancy yarn from the Feel Good Yarn Company. So this stuff is silver spun yarn, and I saved the tag. Ooh, look how fancy I am. Is that just backwards for you guys? I suppose I'll find out when I edit it. But it's cotton and nylon and 87% combed cotton, 5% nylon, 3% spandex, and 5% silver. So there is actually silver spun into this yarn, and they sent like a cute little bag with it. How cute is that? And it's super spandex. Yeah. It's similar to the super stretch yarn that I made my smog socks out of in February. And it is, I'm glad I had knit with some stretchier yarn before, although this is a much simpler pattern. So it's a really cute pattern. There's a cuff on the sock, a little lace cuff that folds back over in their little ankle socks. And I'm knitting these for my mom for Mother's Day, which is tomorrow. So happy Mother's Day, Mom. I love you. I'm working on socks. And I already told her that, so I haven't spoiled the surprise. If you just search silver spun on the internet, you'll come up with this yarn. It's really neat. It's supposed to help folks with diabetes to have silver fibers in the socks, and it also helps with like bacteria and other stuff, which is nice because I know cotton socks can kind of give people problems sometimes. But the other cool thing about this yarn and fiber company is that I can't lean on the table. they naturally dye most of the colors they have in stock. So this lovely purple is dyed with logwood. So how cool is that? I wanted to get the indigo, but they were all out of stock. So that's really neat that they use natural dyes. I really like that. So I'll probably finish this guy tonight or tomorrow and cast the other one on. I do have another pair of socks in progress that are a test knit for the socks that we're going to be doing for the Sock Sunday classes here in the shop in June. So I'm test knitting that just to make sure that the pattern makes sense. So it'll be easy for a beginner to follow, and those are kind of neat. They're iron weight socks, so compared to this and these, seems like I'm going lightning pace with those, so those should be pretty quick. And another reason why I don't have as much knitting done as I typically do when I check in on these shows is that I am doing a project for a fundraiser here in town. So I have been knitting a lot more, but I've been knitting with this, which is baling twine. So in Eureka, we're a pretty small community. I should look up the population so I could tell you guys next time. I don't know it off the top of my head. And I've only been living up here for 3 years, so 4 years? My goodness, I'm having trouble with dates. So we're a pretty small community, but this pretty small community is just teeming with artists. They're a bunch of professional artists who live out in the woods and create amazing work. We have a couple different nonprofits in town that work with the arts. There's the Sunburst Community Arts Center, which brings in all sorts of performing arts and wonderful concerts, and they bring in Shakespeare in the Parks, which is touring outdoor Shakespeare performances that happen every summer in rural areas around Montana, which is very cool. And we also have the Creative Arts Center, which in town they have dance studios with lovely floor space and great mirrors. They host all sorts of art classes, from pottery to drawing and all sorts of other stuff, and that's what this is for. Is every year they do a fundraiser called Trash to Flash, which is exactly what it sounds like, where you use materials that are typically thrown out to create an entire costume, and then it's modeled on the runway, and at the end they kind of auction off the costumes and people buy them, and there's a silent auction with all sorts of other things. So I am making an entire costume out of baling twine and feed bags. And after knitting with baling twine, I don't think I'll ever complain about coarse wool ever again. My hands are quite sore and dry and a little worse for wear from this project, but it's really cool, and I just keep working on it and working on it. The show is next Saturday, and I'll be modeling my own creation. I'm sure there will be photographs and video footage of that. I'm not going to show you what I've been working on because it's for a fundraiser and I want people to go if they're local and not just look at what I'm making online. But I will make sure that I have photos and I put them up on our Facebook page, as probably also on Patreon, and I'll write a little bit about my process and all the little bits and bobs and things that I did for that. So that's been taking up a lot of my time, and is probably, I'll focus on perfecting the rest of my entire outfit for the rest of the week instead of focusing too much on knitting and other projects. So yeah, lots of baling twines. I should have kept track of how many loops of baling twine I use so I could talk about how many bales of hay went into my costume, but I didn't think about that until right now. So, on to spinning. I have a creaky chair problem in this shop. Every chair we have is creaky. So I have a little bit of spinning done to share with you. I've got this kind of like mini skein. I'm sorry. I have cats that like to sleep in my bags. But so this is, I have great natural light over here, but I don't know how much you can see it. So it's very bright, and yeah, you can see super squishy. So this is more Siri yarn, Siri wool, and she was spinning up a sample of stuff that she had dyed up and had some extra while we were hanging out with a bunch of people here at the shop, and I had only brought things to comb and nothing to spin, so she just gave me some to spin up, which was very nice. And so it's all yellows and reds and pinks and oranges. Oh my. I don't know if I can get this closer. There we go. That's a little better. Hopefully that's in focus. And I just plied it back on itself. And it's very fun and bright. So there's more pink in there. See? Yeah. Here's the thing though, altogether as a color palette, since I plied it on itself, it kind of reminds me of pepperoni pizza. I told poor Siri that. Hopefully she didn't feel bad, because I meant it in a like charming way. And that's pretty good. It's about 75 yards, and I didn't weigh out how much she gave me. It was just a little sample. She gave me like half of what she had brought with her. So I'm assuming it's about 2 ounces. Probably, maybe less? Probably less. She had already spun a bunch of it by the time that she gave me some. But I really like individual parts of it. Do you find that when you're spinning, you go back and you've plied it all together and you have like a favorite segment of yarn? I do. It's so bright. So I think I'm probably going to, what can you do with 75 yards? I could save it as a little mini and mail it to someone I'm doing a fiber swap with. I could make some little wrist warmer things. I might do that because the last bit of Siri fiber I spun up, I wanted to do linen stitch with, but I didn't get to because I ended up pairing it with another yarn for the summer shawl that I knit myself. Although that was also chain plied, and this is just a 2-ply. It's really soft. I forgot to ask her what type of wool this is. She has a mixed breed flock, so it could be anything. It's kind of a shorter staple, very fluffy, not quite as springy as the other stuff I spun, but it's really fun. And I have gotten a pretty good photo of it. Put that by the window. Anyhow, so that's all the spinning I've gotten done on that. Well, that's finished. I've also, while I was in Missoula, I went to Joseph's Coat, which is a yarn shop in Missoula downtown, and they had, I forgot to bring the label with me. They had some stuff, I'm gonna remember not to lean on the table, I promise, that was done up by Raven Ridge Fiber Arts, which is a local Missoula dyer. And she had some lovely things there. I did end up getting some other stuff from her that's Polworth silk that is not a Montana sourced wool. But this stuff is, and look at how vibrant those colors are. Isn't that amazing? The turquoise just is, it's so bright. And there's browns in here too, as kind of a neutral to offset all of this bright, bright color. So this is Montana sourced Cormo, probably from eastern Montana at a guess. So I'm starting to spin with single source beads to kind of feel out the difference. And I have 1 bobbin of singles for this stuff done. Oh, the end of it always gets so messy. So, yay, that's half of it, so that's about 2 ounces. This was combed top. I spun it short forward draft, which is usually what I do. Sorry, short backwards draft. To go for kind of a worsted spin, and it is so smooth. This stuff drafted like butter for the most part. So I was able to get a pretty fine single. And now I am back at the point of the ever-present debate. Do I chain ply it? Do I do a double ply? I'm not going to do, if I don't chain ply it, I'm not going to do 3 ply because I had split the fiber in half. And how I've been spinning this is I've been spinning across the top, which is when you can see this kind of is where it got cut. It's a little, you spin, I open it up and you put your thumb and then you spin kind of across this way and then you spin back and back and back is where you draft from. And that's a good way to try if you're trying to get all the color together in a block. So if I 2-ply this, it will end up kind of barber pole-y like this with those colors, which I still think would be really pretty. It would probably mute a lot of the, maybe not mute isn't the right word I'm going for, because all the color in this is really vibrant and very saturated. But there would be places where the brown plied with other colors, and that might drop down the overall vibrancy of it. I'm not sure. So I'm thinking about that. And this colorway is called Peacock, which is apparently discontinued. So I got the last braid at Joseph's Coat, so I may have gotten the last braid of this that's available. So the dyer's name is Rikki. I can't remember her last name. She's really lovely. I've met her. She came into the shop when she was up here teaching for the Montana Entrepreneurship Program, which is basically a college. Think of it as similar to a college level course that teaches artists how to make it as artists, like organize your business, format a brand, all of that. And she's lovely. She does have an Etsy shop. She does have stuff carried in some local yarn shops in Montana. Currently, we're not one of them, but I would like to change that because her stuff is really lovely. And she has a lot of Montana-themed colorways based off of birds that are native to the area, trees. The other colorway I got from her that I got on Polworth and Silk is called Huckleberry, and it's all purples and lovely. So she's really neat. Her company is Raven Ridge Fiber Arts, and yeah, just do a plug for her. I'm not terribly eloquent. Okay, I'm recording on my phone. I don't know quite where I left off. So hopefully I went on and on about Raven Ridge Fiber Arts and how beautiful her stuff is. She has yarn and spinning fiber that she dyes up. She's based out of Missoula, Montana, so I like finding Montana-based dyers and fiber producers. It's great. Her information will be in the show notes below. I just had to go delete more things off my phone, so hopefully this will be fine. And the other spin in progress I have is crinkling. I know, I'm sorry. Is a new one. So I showed you in the past I had some lovely fiber that Betty had sent me that she had dyed up with Easter eggs, and this is what I've done with it. So we've carded it up into lovely little fluffy rolags to include some of the white at the end. And there was more blue, so I have some that are solid blues, and this is new for me. So Oh, it's gotten thicker towards the end here, but I have been spindling, and when I first got interested in spinning, I went to the shop and I picked up a spindle and some wool and tried to go home and learn, and it was just a disaster. I was really bad at it, and I had no patience for it. So yeah, these thicker pieces, I'll probably go back and take those out, but actually, on this spindle, there, see? I was actually able to get it quite fine. I'm pretty proud of myself. Yes, I tried to learn spindle spinning before I had a wheel, when I really wanted to learn how to spin wool. And I just got so frustrated and I couldn't figure it out, and I of course didn't want to do I didn't want to do just hand, you know, when you have like Greek style spinning where you spin it in your hand and you're trying to draft like this. I didn't think to do that. I hadn't looked it up too much on YouTube. I just wanted to be able to do the drop spindling where you snap it and it spins and it goes, and I wasn't able to do that, and I really think that it had to do with the drafting. So I got an Ashford Traddy gifted to me last August. I've been spinning on that, and when you get the treadling down and then you can really just focus on your feet, I finally got the drafting. So having practiced on a wheel to draft, then I finally was able to get spindle spinning. And I know everybody's different. For some people, learning on a spindle first is really helpful, and for other people, you just don't get it. So yes, I was spindling while I was in Missoula. This is most of what I did, and I have a lot of this to go. So I have this whole bag of little Rolags. They're so cute. So I also carded all of the fiber up and made these Rolags while I was in Missoula. And I have twice this amount because I have another bag that's just full of the blues. So I've been, and I carded some white in with it, so it's like a light blue that I've been doing between these rolls that have the purple in it. So this is probably going to be a long-term project, and a project that I take with me when I'm traveling. And I'll probably just learn to do a plying bracelet and ply it back on itself, and have a double ply and just kind of see how it turns out. I have no idea what weight this will be. There are places where I've been able to get it really quite fine. There are a few places where I caught a snarl, and like right here, it's not quite so fine. Will that focus? There you go. So yeah, so that's kind of fun. So that's the other thing I've been working on. And the last thing I'm going to talk to you about is a future spin, and I apologize because it's going to crinkle too. Which is because I haven't taken any of it out of the packaging because I don't want to open it until I'm going to mess with it. So I know I've talked with you all in the past, or at least mentioned that there is another podcast that I follow called Woolen Spinning, WOOLN' spinning, and it's done by a woman named Rachel, who's from Canada, out of BC. I don't know her last name, so I apologize for that too. But she is fantastic, and I follow her on Patreon. She's someone that I chose to back because I find all of her videos to be really informative and helpful, and she does lovely demos and color work things. And one of the things that she does, or is doing this year right now, is that she was doing breed studies and color studies separately, kind of as something that you can join in and do, and you can join her group on Ravelry and post your results and talk about it and what you're doing. And this year she decided to kind of combine the two, so she's doing breed and color studies at the same time. And I decided, oh, that sounds great, and that it would probably be a really good way for me to grow as a spinner and do a group thing from a distance. So I signed up. And she has a friend who runs Crafty Jack's Boutique, which is on Etsy, and sheeted up the fiber. So the color study everyone's doing is a split complement color study. I'm not going to take these out of the bags, like I said, so. But if you can see, so there's yellow, green, and purple, and there are 2 different breeds to kind of compare and see how different that will be. And neither of them are breeds that I've spun with yet. So this one is BFL, I think. Yes, so this is all BFL, and this really, really gorgeous bat. And the other one, which is the one I was really excited about, is Goatland. And this one is a bit different because the base fiber was gray. So, I'm sorry, we're getting kind of a glare on that. So gray, as you can see, the yellow, there's like a yellow sheen to it, but it's not bright yellow as the other, so the color handling will be different. And I just got 50 grams of each to play around with, so this isn't something that I'm hosting. This is something that Rachel at Wool & Spinning is hosting. So if you are a spinner and you want to join in and think about color and see how different it handles on different fibers, this is going to be so fun. And it's starting kind of soon. I know that I'm in Montana, so this had to ship from Canada to get to me. And yeah, so that just seems like a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it. So that's probably as soon as I'm done with the peacock yarn, which isn't going to take me that long because it's really gorgeous stuff. So yeah, with that, I have 4 different breed specific things to spin, kind of on the docket. So this is Cormo, I have BFL, I have Goatland, I have the Raven Ridge Fiber Arts, that's Polwarth, and Silk. Which I've only spun a little bit with silk, and it was usually carded in kind of in little neps, so that will be different. So it's gonna be really interesting, and I'm gonna write a lot more about that, at least on Patreon. If not, I'm thinking of starting to blog on our website, foxandspiderarts.com, which is technically up but doesn't have an awful lot on it right now because we're working on it. So yeah, and I mean there are so many of these different video casts and so many blogs about this subject, written by many people who with more experience, who are far more informed than I am. So I feel almost kind of silly adding to it, but I'm gonna do it anyways. I'm just gonna put what I discover out there and kind of look at it kind of as I learn, and maybe some of my insights will be helpful to someone else down the line. So that's kind of the goal. So there you go. I'm gonna do that. If anybody wants to join it, you can go to Crafty Jack's to get the colorways if you specifically want to order these, or if you have Goatland or BFL and you want to spin along, you should just go to Ravelry and join Rachel's group, the Wool & Spinning podcast group, and there are boards and it's fantastic. I haven't been too active there, but anytime I have been, I've felt really supportive, and there's lots of feedback and things happening there. And if you're interested in spinning, you should definitely check out her videos here on YouTube. They are great. So that's about it. That's about what I've got. So I feel like I'm forgetting something I wanted to talk to you guys about. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about anything that I'm knitting up or working on, please do comment below. If you like these videos, please give me a thumbs up and consider sharing with your fiber arts type friends. I feel kind of like I'm, yelling into the void out here a little bit. So we'll just kind of see how it goes from here. So once again, I'm Madeline from Fox and Spider Arts and the Woolery Mammoth Yarn Shop here in Eureka. You can find me on Instagram at WoolyWitchotWest, on Ravelry WoolyWitchotWest, and Fox and Spider Arts and the Woolery Mammoth are both on Facebook, so you can find me there too. Thank you so much for stopping by and joining me today while I gab on about wool, and I hope that there's lots of yarn in your life in the coming couple weeks, and I will check in with you guys later. Bye!